Okay, so today I'd like to talk a little bit about paragraphs, and I've got 4 example tasks here we're going to look at quickly for this, and they're taken from entry level 3, level 1 and level 2, because it doesn't matter which of these levels you are doing, you will be expected to use paragraphs. It says that explicitly on the entry level 3 one, but you know that you have to for level 1 and level 2 as well, or at least you should do by now. Okay, so first off, I'm going to look at persuasive paragraphs. This is where we have got an opinion and we want to back it up. We want to make that opinion nice and persuasive. And these 2 examples here are good for that. The first one is a letter of complaint, and we can see here quite clearly why that needs to be persuasive, because I need to persuade them to give me a refund. This one is a little less clear. You're writing an article titled "One Thing I Would Change in This World." However, once you've pointed out what you'd like to change, you're going to have to kind of explain why, which is why this becomes a persuasive paragraph. So, now, those of you that have been studying longer with me, you have come across Peel by now, I'm sure. In fact, I think I cover it in another video here. So that's point, evidence, expand, explain, link. Okay. Now, Peel is an excellent template, but it's by no means the only way of writing a persuasive paragraph. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of a persuasive paragraph here, and hopefully you can see what I mean. So this first one here, the dodgy computer. So I'm going to start with my point. The computer is not working well enough for me to use it. Okay? Evidence. Whenever I try and run a program for longer than 20 minutes, it crashes. Okay, and now I need to expand or explain. So I'm going to bring in something else here. I'm going to use my imagination, develop those ideas like we looked at. As I work from home, it's vital I have a reliable computer. And again, my link, I'm going to link to the next topic, which in that task is how the shop responded. So I'm going to go with a sentence here which introduces that. I did take the computer into your store, flexible for repair, and that links me nicely to my next point, which is going to be about, poor service I received. So, let's have a look here. So yellow is my point. Evidence I will do in green. Right, now this is by no means the only way to organise this kind of paragraph really, and I'm going to show you what I mean by this one. So I'm writing an article here, but I'm writing something potentially a little bit different. Now I'm going to imagine that what I would like to see is I would like to remove the invention of the car. Okay? So what I am going to do here is, instead of starting with my point, I might have my introduction paragraph where I talk about cars, and I'm moving on to the persuasive bit. Instead of starting my point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my evidence. Okay? Thousands of lives are lost a year in this country, with many of them being children. Now, the reason I'm starting with this is because I believe it's more powerful. I believe that in this context, it's more powerful that I start with the evidence, and that's a decision you need to make yourself. But I think that kind of particular piece of evidence is absolutely brilliant to start with. It's a real hook, it's an attention getter. Okay? And I'm going to sort of almost approach this in a backward way. So then I'm going to sort of expand out. Okay, I'm going to explain what I mean by that evidence. What am I talking about? Thousands of lives in this year. And I'm going to go with the culprit, motor car, menace of our streets. So, And now I'm going to sort of hammer home my point. I've given you the evidence. You're sort of wondering what that means. I've explained a little bit, what this means. Now I'm going to make my point. Okay. And I'm going to actually include a little bit of expand and explain in here as well. And hopefully you can see where these sort of slowly start to merge once you start to mess around with that particular structure. But you will notice I've got all those elements of P within here. I'm just approaching it in a slightly different way. And I'm doing this because I think I want to have a dramatic effect. Okay? So, there's my point, and a bit of expansion as well there. And finally, I am going to start with my link. Now, my next paragraph here in this imaginary document is I'm going to talk about a world without cars. Okay, so again, I'm going to sort of do the same highlighting here. So we've got green for our evidence. We have got and again this bit here, which is sort of a mix. I'm going to sort of highlight in different colours as well. That's the point I'm making, really. I'm making the point that actually, you know what, a lot of people die because of cars, and why aren't we doing anything about it? Okay? And finally, I've got my link at the end there. So there we go. That is enough potential methods sort of for writing paragraphs. And as you can see, I've got all the ingredients of Peel in there. I've just messed about with the order a bit. I've just changed the order up a bit because I feel it works better with that task that I'm working on. And that is a judgment call you need to make, but it's a judgment call you should hopefully be somewhat happy with and sort of comfortable with at this point. Okay, so I want to look here at a couple of other types of paragraphs very quickly, although I'm going to be going into this in more detail in a later video. So I've got two examples here. We've got writing a report for people who are not technology experts, and then we have got writing a story about someone who loses some money. Okay, and again, what we've got to remember here is we're no longer persuading. So while we are going to be sort of, well, we might include a little bit of persuasive stuff, I guess, especially in this one, because obviously we want people to use technology. I've explained how to use it. But we're going to be thinking in different ways. And this also counts for paragraphs in persuasive things, like, for instance, this letter here. Not every paragraph you can be writing persuasively. Okay? And this one here, not every paragraph you're going to be writing persuasively. It's where you're sort of getting your point across that you really start writing persuasively and backing stuff up with evidence. And the best thing to do here, really, is as follows. Okay? So, I am going to focus on... let's start this one to start with. So, the story, so a narrative story about someone who loses some money. And I'm sort of thinking what happened, when it happened. So we'll start with that one. When did it happen? Okay. It was about 5 in the afternoon when Susan checked her bank account. Now, what am I going to do with that? Right. This opening bit, I've already decided the topic of this sentence. So our topic, this topic of the paragraph, our topic. That's our topic sentence, our opening sentence, is about her checking her bank account We're writing a story, so we sort of need to sort of expand out from that and explain what happened. But we've been asked to write at least 3 paragraphs, so we can't put everything in there. So what we need to sort of think about here is, how can we pad this out? How can we make it potentially more dramatic? How can we draw in more? So we could go with something like this. I'm just expanding out on it. Okay? So I've just taken a theme here from that topic sentence. So I've taken the theme of her checking out a bank account, and I'm sort of just running with it. I'm going with it. And also, what I am doing here is, you notice that, and this is super important, I am showing, and I'm going to do here a little bit about narrative writing. Okay? Narrative writing. Show, don't tell. Don't tell me her bank account's empty. Show me checking her bank account and realising it's empty. Okay? And again, there was another example of level 1 with the police report. You don't tell the police there was an accident. You show what happened. You tell them what happened. Well, the cyclist collided with the pedestrian, and you sort of explain that detail, that information. Okay? And yeah, that would work quite nicely there. We've got some sentences there. That would be a nice opening paragraph. Now, if we have a look at this one here with technology in personal life, etc., etc., etc. Again, what I'm going to do is, and this is great if you are writing any kind of thing where you're trying to get across information, any informative stuff. Again, it's give examples. Okay? And this could be, I mean, it works for persuasive writing as well, but for informative tasks where you're supposed to do something like this, where you are talking someone through something, concrete examples work really well. So we'll go with explaining to someone how to, explaining how technology, mobile phones benefit society. We don't just say, mobile phones are excellent. Mobile phones are excellent because they keep us in touch with people. It's better, but it's not great. Give a concrete example. So, imagine running late. You've got an appointment late in the day, and you also need to pick up your grandchildren from school. In the days before mobile phones, you could have used a payphone. But good luck finding these days. Okay? Nowadays, our busy lives, it's more important than ever to keep in contact. And can you see what I've done there with that? I've given that example, I've talked through that example. Now, whatever you write won't look like this because you'll have a different task. But do bear that in mind. If you were explaining something like this to someone, if you're sort of explaining a benefit or whatever to someone, or simply explaining how to do something, give concrete examples. Don't just say that mobile phones are excellent because they allow us to keep in touch. Give an example of when that happens. Okay? And you'll also find that helps you expand out and write more. So there we go, writing paragraphs.